Best on Tour this week is presented by Best on Tour. Sign up for free at bestontour.net. Welcome to another edition of Best on Tour this week, presented by bestontour.net. I'm your host, Matt Pangrac, along with Dave Rush from Best on Tour, where we talk about what happened on and off the water in professional bass fishing. And Dave, holiday weekend for the first time pretty much since February of 2025. No major or AAA tournaments took place on the water, and for good reason, most likely.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on our local waterways, but luckily for the anglers, not professional tournaments.
It is a lot of guys getting ready for the final push, either to re-qualify for their tour of choice, to qualify for their tour of choice, or to compete in the Angler of the Year races. We have a number of tours and trails that we are going to break down today, starting at the top with the Bassmaster Elite Series. And today is all about Angler of the Year races, with 2 events left on the Elite Series schedule. Jay Shakurit maintains a lead that he has held for the majority of the 2025 Bassmaster Elite Series season. He has 598 points, leads Chris Johnson by 3 points, who is looking to become one of the few anglers who has gone back-to-back in the Bassmaster Elite Series. But he's going to have his work cut out for him, as Jay Shakurit, heading to the St. Lawrence River, or heading to Lake St. Clair, on August 7th through 10th, has had a little bit of success there in the past.
Yeah, looking to keep the mojo going there on St. Clair. As you are aware, Jay won the Bassmaster Open on Lake St. Clair last year, so he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable heading into that event, I would assume.
One of the heaviest 3-day smallmouth weights to ever win an open event. He had 75 pounds, 5 ounces. And remember, that's 15 fish over 3 days. So it will be interesting to see if those Elite Series anglers maintain that 100-pound pace at their next event. Very tight race at the top of the Bassmaster Elite Series standings. Obviously, Jay Shakurit, 598. Chris Johnson, 595. Trey McKinney, 586 points. So with a maximum of 8 fishing days left, the top 3 anglers, who were all familiar with the top of the Angler of the Year standings, are all at the top again. Patrick Walters in 4th with 553 points, but right now really a 3-horse race with 2 events left. 1 event left at the BPT, and a very familiar name at the top of that Angler of the Year standing, looking for his 4th Angler of the Year title on the Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah, Jacob Wheeler in control on the BPT. Was a 2-horse race for quite a while, still is. I would assume you could say so. Drew Gill stubbed his toe a little bit mid-season, but Jacob has 1 event on Saginaw Bay. Has had some success there in the past. There's not many places you can talk about and say he has not had success, so probably going to be hard to track down Mr. Wheeler, but that's why they launched the boats and fished a tournament.
Beginning of August is that event left on Saginaw Bay. Wheeler has 436 points. Jake Lawrence has 409, and Drew Gill has 407. May seem a little bit tighter than it actually is. Remember, Dave, only 65 anglers competing on the Bass Pro Tour. All Jacob really has to do is make that first cut, make the knockout round, and he secures AOY number 4. Another dominating performance going down in the Invitationals, a name that may be a little bit newer to some of those that follow professional bass fishing. But man, Banks Shaw just continues his march towards the Bass Pro Tour.
Yeah, Banks Shaw, dominating performance this season on the Invitationals, holds a 55-point lead on second place Dustin Smith as the Invitationals head to stage 6 at the St. Lawrence River. So a lot of AOI and crowns being determined up north, as always is the case on professional tours late July, early August.
Bankshaw, Dustin Smith, Mitchell Robinson, Chad Mrazek, and Bobby Lane, and then Jacob Walker, Brody Campbell, Colby Miller, Joseph Webster, and Keith Poche in the top 10 as you look for the anglers who will be moving on or maintaining their place on the Bass Pro Tour in the 2026 season. Also, some interesting developments in the NPFL, which has turned into quite an interesting Angler of the Year race. If you look at the top 10 in that, some very familiar names from a wide variety of tours, Dave.
Yeah, with 2 events left, Kyle Welcher is looking to repeat as NPFL Angler of the Year, trying to go back to back over there. The top three are only separated by 5 points, so a very close race over there. His closest competitors: Greg Hackney second, Patrick Walters third. Interesting to note that 9 out of the top 10 anglers in the NPFL Angler of the Year race also compete on the Bassmaster Elite Series. So got a barn burner going on over there on the NPFL as they kick off their next tournament on the St. Lawrence River on July 9th.
All of the attention next week turns to ICAST, which is held in Orlando, Florida. We're seeing a lot of new releases from baits, tackle products for the marine industry, for fishing across the board. Another slow tournament week as a lot of pros will be headed down to Florida. We will have that following ICAST also on Best on Tour this week. The award winners, the things that were of interest, and some industry news on that. But Dave, you'll be attending ICAST?
Yep, we'll be at ICAST. We will be going live during the show from the Best on Tour Insider Facebook group. If you have not joined that simple Best on Tour Insider Facebook group on Facebook, we'll be doing some live stuff from there, and obviously collecting a lot of content, a lot of cool stuff, giving you some behind the scenes when we get back. But always a good week at ICAST, and interested to see what's on the floor this year.
We always like to throw some industry news into the Best on Tours this week, and a very interesting tournament format coming out of Texas. Dave, what can you tell us about that in 2026?
Yeah, Team Trail Outdoors, which is a team trail series in Texas, has decided that for 2026, their live scope rules will include the fact that you can only use forward-facing sonar once you have a 5-fish limit in the boat. So this is an interesting one. We've seen different organizations trying to kind of solve this conundrum, make their sponsors and anglers happy. Team Trail Outdoors going with this. Got to put 5 in the boat before you can turn on the live scope. So be interesting to see how that goes for them this year. And that's the Team Trail Outdoors. I got the information from their social media. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about it, check them out on their Facebook page. The guy gives a great explanation of exactly how they're planning on doing it and why they went this route.
Become a better angler, get behind the scenes of the top fishing tours, learn the business side of the fishing industry and how to get sponsorships. The Best on Tour newsletter brings you all that once a week, completely free. Just go to bestontour.net, sign up, and you can get everything that is happening in the industry directly to your inbox so you can peruse at your reading pleasure.
Every Thursday.
All right, have a good time at ICAST, Dave. Looking forward to the Best on Tour updates. And as always, check back weekly for another Best on Tour this week, exclusively on Bass Talk Live. Thanks, Dave.